when my son Leo threw the keys to a brand new Porsche 911 onto my grease-stained workbench. He thought he was showing me the future. He didn't know that 10 minutes prior, I had already logged into the Sterling National Internal Portal and flagged his bridge loan for a comprehensive collateral audit. He looked at me, his father, and saw a relic, a man whose clothes smelled of lot, 40, and whose hands were permanently stained by graphite. He called me out of touch. He told me my workshop was a blight on the neighborhood's equity. What he forgot is that, while he plays with the money he thinks is inherited, I am the one who determines what that money is actually worth. In the world of high-stakes finance, I am the senior asset valuation consultant. I am the man who decides if your empire is built on granite or shifting sand. And Leo, he just built his house on a sinkhole. I was working on a delicate piece of clockwork when the heavy bay doors rolled up with a screech. Leo marched in, followed by a woman I'd never seen before. She was wearing 4-inch heels that looked precarious on the oil, slicked concrete, and a dress that cost more than a mid-sized milling machine. This wasn't Sarah, Leo's wife of 10 years. This was someone else. "Dad, stop playing with the toys," Leo shouted over the hum of the ventilation fan. "We need to talk. Now." I wiped my hands on a rag, my movements slow and deliberate. "You're early, Leo, and you've brought company." The woman, Tiffany, didn't even look at me. She was busy taking a selfie in front of a vintage 1950s drill press, as if it were a quirky museum exhibit. "Ugh, the lighting in here is literal trash, babe," she whined. Leo turned to me, his face flushed with a mixture of arrogance and impatience. "Look, Sarah and I are transitioning, and my new venture, L-Stream Tech, needs a liquidity injection. I've already filed the paperwork." "What paperwork, Leo?" I asked, my voice flat. He tossed a thick envelope onto my workbench, narrowly missing a tray of precision bearings. "The deed transfer and the sale agreement. I found a developer who wants to turn this whole block into artisanal lofts. I got you a great deal, Dad. You get a nice condo in the suburbs, and I get the capital I need to scale." I looked at the documents. He hadn't just sold the land. He had categorized the contents of the workshop. My life's work as industrial scrap. "You sold the shop?" I asked quietly. "Without asking me, technically. It was in the family trust, and as the managing trustee, I have the fiduciary authority to liquidate underperforming assets," Leo said, using the buzzwords he'd learned in his failed MBA program. "Besides, look at you. You're 70. You're breathing in metal shavings and fumes. I am doing you a favor. I am cashing you out before this place becomes a liability." Tiffany chimed in, finally looking at me with a look of pure pity. "Come on, Pops. Think of it as a retirement. Leo even bought me a thank you gift for helping him see the vision." She pointed out the window. Parked illegally, across the sidewalk was a guard's red Porsche 911. The engine was still ticking as it cooled. "You bought $100,000 car with the deposit from my workshop?" I felt a coldness settling in my chest. Not sadness, just a very clear, sharp clarity. "It's an investment in the brand." "Dad," Leo snapped, "I have a meeting with Sterling National Bank tomorrow for a $5 million expansion loan. I can't show up in a Honda. This shop, it's just a dirty old building. The bank needs to see that I have high-value collateral. The developer's contract for this land is my golden ticket." I picked up the sale agreement. He had valued the workshop and the specialized machinery at a measly $450,000 to trigger a quick sale. "The machinery alone is worth double that, Leo," I said. "The Fiend Tesla calibration unit in the back is one of 5 in the state. If you'd asked me, I could have told you that." Leo laughed, a harsh, condescending sound. "Dad, you're a mechanic. You know how to fix things. Sure. But you don't know anything about fair market value. You don't understand how the world works anymore. Banks don't care about old German tools. They care about highest and best use of the real estate. Now, sign the exit papers and get your stuff. You have 48 hours. He didn't wait for an answer. He grabbed Tiffany's hand and they strutted out to the Porsche. As the engine roared to life, he yelled back, "Don't be bitter, Dad, it's just business." I stood in the silence of my workshop for a long time. I looked at the Bridgeport mills. I looked at the lathe. Then, I walked over to the corner office, the one Leo never entered because it was too dusty. I sat down at my computer and opened a secure VPN. I didn't log into a retirement portal. I logged into the Sterling National Risk Management System. A notification was waiting for me. Case Assignment L. Stream Tech Holdings. Loan Request 5. 2 Matters. Collateral Industrial Property 442, B, Industrial District. Action required expert valuation and risk assessment. My son wanted to play at being a mogul. He wanted to use my workshop as the leverage to fund his delusions and his mistress's lifestyle. He thought I was just a man with a wrench. He forgot that Sterling National doesn't approve a single commercial loan over $2 million without a signature from the head of the valuation committee, and that signature belongs to me. I looked at the screen, the blue light reflecting in my glasses. Leo wanted a valuation? I was going to give him the most thorough, most legally airtight valuation of his entire life. I clicked Accept Case. The game had begun. In the world of finance, there is a term we use for people like Leo optimistic defaulters. They are people who spend the profit before they've even cleared the overhead. They see a signed contract as cash in hand, failing to realize that a contract is only as strong as the due diligence phase that follows it. Leo thought he was being clever by using the family trust to bypass my consent. What he didn't realize is that I wrote that trust document 20 years ago with a restricted asset clause. To him, it was just legalese to a bank's legal department. It's a landmine. I spent the next 48 hours not packing my boxes, but sitting in my small office at the bank's headquarters, the office Leo didn't even know existed. I pulled up his loan application. It was a masterpiece of creative accounting. He had listed the workshop's value based on the future potential of the luxury lofts, a technique known as hypothetical appraised value. He was trying to borrow $5 million against a dream that hadn't even broken ground yet. But the biggest mistake, he had listed the workshop as unencumbered. He told the bank there were no liens, no debts, and no competing interests. I took a sip of my black coffee and opened the digitized deed records. There it was, my little insurance policy. When I put the shop into the trust, I didn't just give it away. I retained a life estate and a right of first refusal at the original purchase price. In layman's terms, Leo couldn't sell the dirt beneath my feet without my signature, and if he tried, the title would be clouded. No developer in their right mind would touch it, and no bank would ever lend against it. I didn't call him. I didn't scream. I simply typed a formal internal memo to the underwriting department. Loan application 8892. L. Stream Tech flagging for material misrepresentation of collateral. Please initiate a secondary title search and request. Proof of clear title from the applicant immediately. I clicked send. That was the first domino. The second domino involved Tiffany. Leo had used a bridge loan from a smaller, predatory lender to buy that Porsche. He'd told them his expansion loan from Sterling National was a guaranteed approval. He'd used the workshop as secondary collateral for the car, too. This is what we call cross-collateralization, and doing it without disclosing it to both lenders is a one-way ticket to a fraud investigation. I made a phone call to an old friend in the asset recovery department of that smaller lender. Hey, Marcus, it's Arthur. I'm looking at a VIN for a guard's red 911. The borrower is Leo Vance. You might want to check his source of funds declaration. I suspect there's a fraudulent conveyance regarding the collateral property. On the other end of the line, Marcus whistled. If he lied about the primary lien holder, Arthur, that car is technically property of the bank the moment he misses a disclosure deadline. We'll look into it. Over the next 3 days, I watched the chaos unfold from a distance. Leo called me 6 times. I didn't pick up on the 7th time, I answered. Dad, what the hell is going on? Leo was screaming. The developer just called. They said the title company flagged a cloud on the deed. They're pausing the deposit. And Sterling National is breathing down my neck, asking for supplemental disclosures. Did you do something? I kept my voice low. I told you, Leo. You don't understand the value of things. You should have looked at the paperwork more closely. I don't have time for your riddles, he roared. I have payroll to meet. I have the car payment. If this loan doesn't trigger by Friday, I'm in technical default. Just sign the quitclaim deed. I sent to your email and get out of the way, I'm afraid. I can't do that, Leo. The property is currently under an administrative freeze for valuation discrepancies. My hands are tied. You old fool, Leo spat. You're just jealous because I'm actually doing something with my life. Fine. It'll go over your head. It'll talk to the board at Sterling. I got connections. You can't even imagine. I look forward to it, I said and hung up. I spent Thursday evening in the workshop. I wasn't working on clocks. I was cleaning the grease off the floor. I wanted the place to look pristine for the site visit. In commercial lending, when a loan is flagged for fraud, the bank sends an independent field auditor to verify the assets. Usually, it's a junior staffer. But for a $5.2 million request involving material misrepresentation, the head of the valuation committee goes personally. I checked my watch. Leo's meeting with the bank was scheduled for 10:00 a.m. Friday. He thought he was going there to clear up a misunderstanding with the executives. He didn't realize he was walking into a pre-foreclosure hearing. I adjusted my tie in the cracked mirror of the workshop bathroom. For the first time in 30 years, I didn't put on my coveralls. I put on a charcoal gray suit, tailored and sharp. I pinned my Sterling National Executive badge to my lapel. I looked at the vintage lathe. Don't worry, I whispered. You're not going to be scrap. The final piece of the puzzle was Tiffany. My sources told me Shed already started complaining about the stress. Leo was under in her world. If the money stops flowing, the love stops growing. I had a feeling Shed be at the bank today, too clinging to Leo's arm, expecting a victory celebration. Instead, she was about to witness a demolition. The boardroom of Sterling National Bank is a cathedral of glass and mahogany. It is designed to make the borrower feel small and the institution feel eternal. Leo was sitting at the end of the long conference table, his chest puffed out, wearing a suit that was too slim, fit for a serious financial meeting. Tiffany was sitting behind him in the gallery chairs, scrolling through her phone, looking bored. They looked like children playing dress, up in a world of giants. I stood outside the double doors, adjusting my cufflinks. I could hear Leo's voice through the wood, loud, frantic, and dripping with forced confidence. Look, Mr. Henderson, Leo was saying to the senior VP of lending, the title issue is a clerical error. My father is an elderly man. He's confused about the trust's structure. I have my lawyers drafting a summary judgment to clear the cloud on the deed as we speak. You can't let a bit of paperwork stall a $5 million tech expansion. Mr. Henderson's voice was dry. It's not just a bit of paperwork, Mr. Vance. It's a material omission on a federal loan application, and we've received an internal flag regarding the valuation of the collateral. We are waiting for our senior consultant to provide the final audit. The senior consultant? Leo scoffed. Probably some guy in a cubicle who hasn't seen the sun in 10 years. Bring him in. I'll explain the real estate potential to him myself. I'm the one with the vision here. That was my cue. I pushed the doors open. The room went silent. Leo didn't even look up at first. Finally, is this the guy? Look, buddy, let's make this quick. Then he actually looked at me. His jaw didn't just drop, it seemed to unhinge. Tiffany stopped scrolling. Dad? Leo stammered, his face turning a shade of gray that matched my suit. What are you doing here? This is a private bank meeting. You need to leave now. I didn't look at him. I walked straight to the head of the table. Mr. Henderson stood up not for Leo, but for me. Arthur, Henderson said, nodding respectfully. Thank you for coming in personally. Do you have the collateral impairment report? I placed a leather-bound folder on the table. I do, James, along with a few extracurricular findings. I pulled out a chair and sat. I let the silence stretch. For 5 seconds in a boardroom, silence is a weapon. Leo, you've spent your entire life assuming that because I work with my hands, I don't work with my head, I said, my voice cool and steady. You called me a relic. You called my workshop industrial scrap. But you forgot one very important rule of finance. Know your counterparty. I turned to the board. The applicant, Mr. Leo Vance, has committed 3 distinct acts of loan application fraud. First, he failed to disclose a life estate lien held by myself, which makes the property legally unsellable. Second, he engaged in equity stripping by using the same collateral to secure a secondary high interest bridge loan for a luxury vehicle, a vehicle that has already been flagged for repossession as of 9 a.m. this morning. Tiffany let out a small, sharp gasp. Wait, what? The Porsche? I ignored her. And third, the valuation of 450 zeron he provided for the workshop contents is a gross undervaluation intended to facilitate a quick liquidation. The actual value of the machinery certified by the International Society of Appraisers, of which I am a fellow, is 2 million. Leo was shaking you. You're the consultant? You work for Sterling? I have chaired the valuation committee here for 15 years, Leo. I built this department while you were failing out of your 3rd semester of business school. I didn't tell you because I wanted to see if you had the integrity to build something on your own. Instead, you tried to steal my life's work to buy a mistress, a car, and fund a tech company that consists of nothing but a fancy website and a lease on an office you can't afford. You're ruining me, Leo screamed, slamming his hands on the table. I'm your son. You're supposed to help me. I am helping you, Leo, I said quietly. I'm teaching you the most valuable lesson you'll ever learn. The market always corrects itself, Mr. Henderson cleared his throat. Mr. Vance, based on the findings of our senior consultant, your loan application is denied with prejudice. Furthermore, we are required by law to file a suspicious activity report with the Treasury. I suggest you find a very good lawyer. Leo turned to Tiffany, his eyes wild. Tiff, babe, it's okay. Well, figure it out. We still have the bridge loan money. At that moment, Leo's phone buzzed. A text message appeared. Vehicle Recovery Notification Unit 2026. Porsche 911 has been secured at 12th and Main. Account closed for non-disclosure fraud. Tiffany stood up. She didn't look at Leo. She looked at the door. Is the car really gone? She asked. It's currently on a flatbed. Miss, I answered. She grabbed her designer bag and walked out without another word. Leo was left alone at the table. He looked small. Dad, he whispered. Please. I stood up and closed my folder. The workshop stays, Leo. The trust has been revoked due to your breach of fiduciary duty. You have 24 hours to vacate your apartment before the bank moves on your personal assets to cover the bridge loan default. And Leo, don't call me. I'm going to be very busy. I have a lot of clocks to fix. Revenge isn't a fire. It's a precision instrument. If you use too much heat, you ruin the tempering of the steel. If you use too little, the piece won't hold its edge. A week later, I was back in the workshop. The smell of oil and old bricks felt like a warm blanket. The developer's contract had been shredded. The artisanal Lofts would have to find another block. I was standing at my lathe, the silver shavings curling away from the metal like ribbons. The door rolled up. It wasn't a roar this time. It was a hesitant creak. Leo was standing there. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing a plain tee, shirt, and jeans. He looked tired. The bank took everything, Dad, he said, his voice cracking. I'm broke. Sarah won't talk to me. Tiffany changed her number. I don't know what to do. I didn't stop the lathe. I kept my eyes on the work, a man who builds his house on a foundation of lies. Should be surprised when the wind knocks it down, Leo. Sorry, he said. It was the first time I'd heard those words from him in a decade. I thought I was smarter than you. I thought the world was about moving numbers around and looking the part. I didn't realize that you were the one actually holding the numbers. I turned off the machine. The silence was heavy, but it wasn't cold. You wanted to know about fair market value. Leo, I said, picking up a heavy polished brass gear. This gear is worth $50 in scrap metal. But if I spend 10 hours machining it to a tolerance of 1,000th of an inch, it becomes the heart of a machine that can power a city. Value isn't what you can trick people into paying. Value is what you put into the world through your own sweat and skill. I tossed him a rag. There's a spill of hydraulic fluid in the back by the compressor, I said. Clean it up. Then, if you're still here in an hour, I'll show you how to calibrate a micrometer. Leo looked at the rag, then at the floor, then at me. He didn't argue. He just walked to the back of the shop and got to work. I went back to my clockwork.